Of course they're watching you. Of course there are eyes on you right now. Not just from people in the room, not just from the screen in your hand, but from the ones who know how to bend your mind without you ever realizing it. Have you ever wondered why you said yes when you wanted to say no? Why you trusted someone who later betrayed you? Or why strangers sometimes feel too familiar, like they knew exactly what button to push? That's not coincidence. That's not instinct. That's dark psychology. The hidden science of manipulation, used by politicians, con artists, salesmen, lovers, and even your so-called friends. Silent tricks that crawl into your head, hijack your choices, and leave you wondering, was that really my decision at all? And here's the truth most people can't handle. 99% of humans are vulnerable to these manipulations. They work on the rich and the poor, the educated and the naive, the skeptic and the believer. Almost everyone falls, except those who recognize the game. So tonight, you're going to learn the 5 most dangerous tricks of dark psychology. The ones almost guaranteed to work on you, unless you see them coming. They lean in when you lean in. They cross their arms when you cross yours. Their head tilts at the same angle. Their fingers tap the same rhythm. Their breath matches yours as if the air between you is synchronized. At first it feels natural, almost comforting, as if fate placed a perfect reflection in front of your eyes. Your mind whispers that this person understands you, that they belong to you, that they are safe. But the truth is far darker. This is not magic. This is not soul connection. This is mirroring, one of the oldest tricks of dark psychology and one of the most dangerous. Your brain is wired to seek familiarity in a world filled with strangers. Your survival has always depended on recognizing who belongs to your tribe and who doesn't. So when someone moves like you, talks like you, breathes like you, your subconscious accepts them as one of your own. You don't even question it. You simply feel that strange, magnetic pull, as if you've known them forever. That's why mirroring is so powerful. It doesn't argue with your logic. It bypasses it entirely and goes straight for your instincts. Picture this. You're sitting in a cafe, nervous on a first meeting. You cross your arms and seconds later, they do the same. You lean forward and they lean forward too. You laugh and they laugh with the same rhythm, the same softness, almost too perfectly matched. You don't notice the timing. You only notice the comfort blooming in your chest. The warmth that says, I'm safe here. This person sees me. But the truth is, they don't see you at all. They are only reflecting you back, using your own image to lure you closer. Like Narcissus staring into the pond, you fall in love with your reflection, never realizing that reflections can never be trusted. It works because humans crave recognition. We want to be understood, to be accepted, to feel less alone. And when someone mirrors us, it feels like the deepest form of understanding. But it's not real understanding, it's manipulation. They don't need to know your story. They don't need to share your struggles. All they need is your posture, your rhythm, your tone of voice. Once they copy it, your mind does the rest of the work for them. You lower your defenses. You open your heart. You hand over your trust. And by the time you realize what has happened, it's already too late. That's how the predator gains entry. The con artist who swindles victims out of money. The toxic partner who feels like a soulmate in the beginning, but slowly reveals themselves as something else. The salesman who makes you believe you've made the choice freely, when in reality he planted it inside you. Each of them begins the same way, by mirroring you until you forget the difference between what's yours and what's theirs. But there are clues if you learn to look for them. True connection flows with ease, without calculation. Mirroring, on the other hand, is always just a little too perfect, a beat too quick, a smile that feels like an echo, movements that always trail a fraction of a second behind. Watch for the timing, listen for the pattern. Ask yourself, do they always shift right when you shift? Do they always laugh just after you laugh? If the answer is yes, then you may not be speaking to a friend at all. You may be staring at a mask, and that mask is the most dangerous one of all, the one that looks like you. Because when someone pretends to be your reflection, you stop questioning them. You stop resisting them. You stop seeing the predator behind the glass. And that is when the trap closes. Mirroring doesn't just fool strangers. It fools lovers. It fools friends. It fools families. It fools you because it doesn't present itself as manipulation. It presents itself as belonging. And belonging is the one thing almost every human being is searching for. But now, you've seen the strings. You've seen the invisible hand that copies your every move. And once you see it, its power weakens. The next time someone feels too familiar too quickly, the next time a stranger seems to understand you just a little too perfectly, remember this: reflections don't love you back. They only show you what you already are. They ask you for something small, something so harmless you barely notice yourself agreeing. Can you hold this for me? Can you sign this quick petition? Can I borrow just a minute of your time? You nod. You smile. You say yes. After all, what's the harm in such a little favor? But that yes, that tiny first step, is the doorway into a much larger trap. Because once you say yes to the small, your mind is far more likely to say yes to the big. This is the dark psychology of gradual compliance, better known as the foot in the door technique. It doesn't break you in one violent strike. It reshapes you slowly, quietly, step by step, until one day you realize you've walked miles in a direction you never meant to go. Think about it. A stranger asks for a sip of your water. You hand it over. Later, the same stranger asks for your whole bottle. And strangely, you hesitate, but you still give it. Why? Because your brain wants to stay consistent. You've already said yes once. To say no now feels like betrayal of your own self-image. You don't want to see yourself as rude, unkind, unhelpful, and so you surrender again and again until you've given away far more than you ever intended. Manipulators know this weakness well. Cult leaders use it to pull people deeper into obedience. Toxic partners use it to cross boundaries that once felt sacred. Even corporations use it: free trials, harmless surveys, the little checkbox you click without thinking. Each tiny yes is a thread, and enough threads can weave a cage. The danger isn't in the first request. The danger is in the pattern, that creeping slope that moves you inch by inch until you look back and barely recognize the person who first agreed, the one small favor that turned into endless obligations, the polite agreement that turned into submission, and all the while, you tell yourself, it's not that serious, I'm just being nice, but deep inside, the truth is darker. You are being programmed, conditioned to comply. The trick works because it exploits the powerful forces inside you, the desire to appear consistent and the fear of conflict. You don't want to be the person who says yes one moment and no the next. You don't want to risk confrontation, and so you keep giving pieces of yourself away until the mirror shows a stranger. But here's the part they never tell you. Every manipulator counts on you to stay asleep, to never notice the chain being built, link by link, yes by yes. If you can pause, if you can break the pattern, if you can say no when the pressure to say yes feels strongest, the chain shatters. Awareness itself is the weapon dot, so the next time someone asks for something small, watch the space between your instinct and your decision. Ask yourself, are they really asking for this favor? Or are they asking for every favor that comes after? Because once the door is cracked open, it won't be long before someone tries to force it wide. It doesn't begin with shouting. It doesn't begin with anger. It begins with nothing. A wall of silence so thick it crushes every sound around you. Messages unanswered. Calls ignored. Eyes that pass over you as though you've ceased to exist. And suddenly the person who once spoke to you with warmth and laughter acts as if you are invisible. That silence burns hotter than any scream. You try to fix it. You replay the last words you said, searching for the mistake. You reach out again and again, desperate for a response, desperate for the ice to thaw. And the more you reach, the colder they become. You don't realize it yet, but you're dancing to their music. Because silence is not absence, it's a weapon. A psychological chokehold designed to make you beg for relief. The brilliance of the silent treatment is that it forces you to punish yourself. You become restless, insecure, consumed by the fear that you've lost their affection. You adjust your words, your behavior, your very self, just to earn back the sound of their voice. And when they finally speak again, when they return that sliver of attention, the flood of relief feels like love. But it's not love, it's control. Manipulators know exactly when to withdraw and when to return. It's a cycle of starvation and reward. They strip away their presence until you ache for it, then give you just enough to remind you how much you need them. Over time, you learn the unspoken rule. If you don't obey, you'll be abandoned in silence again. And so you obey, not because you want to, but because this silence terrifies you more than compliance does. This tactic is ancient. Lovers use it to break down their partners. Parents use it to dominate their children. Friends use it to enforce loyalty. And every time, it leaves scars deeper than words ever could. Because when someone screams at you, at least you exist enough to be fought with. But when they erase you with silence, They teach you that your existence itself is conditional, that your worth is measured by how well you submit. The silent treatment works because it exploits the most primal human fear, rejection. To be ignored feels like death to the mind, because for thousands of years, survival depended on belonging to the tribe. To be cast out was to die. And so, when faced with silence, your brain interprets it as abandonment. It panics. It bends. It surrenders. But here's the truth they never want you to learn. Silence only has power if you chase it. The moment you stop running after their attention, the moment you stand still in your own presence, the weapon turns to dust. They cannot starve you if you refuse to eat from their hand. And when you recognize that their silence is not proof of your worthlessness, but proof of their control, you finally step out of the cage.